It may be true that Gen Z is cooked, but I don't think it's quite true that Gen Alpha is officially cooked yet. This is my reasoning on it because I think the issue, the competency crisis that we are facing, the culprit, the main culprit at least, there are several, but the main culprit is the ineffective educational system. And that is what Gen Alpha is dealing with right now. Gen Z, they're moving out of the educational system. They've been in the worst years and they have completely been screwed over. It's plain and simple as that. Yes, millennials, Gen Z, these are the parents, generally speaking, of Gen Alpha. And so people are saying that Gen Alpha is cooked. And if you look at the data, it does show maybe it's biased. Okay. I'm not going to say that every bit of data is just completely accurate. Every type of scientific data that you can capture or grab, you can make it a study say what you want it to say. But there is data that is saying that the smartest generation, the currently, is from the 80s. So people born growing up in the 80s are actually on an IQ level, intelligence, being able to reason level, smarter than any other generation. So this means previous, which is normal. That is how it had been for centuries, but also the later generations, which is completely against everything that history has shown us. Up until now, it shows us that the next generation should be getting more intelligent. It should be smarter. So why is it saying that the 80s was the last of these smart people? Now, I don't fully agree that it's like over for the future. I just believe that our educational system needs to be adjusted. I don't think it was ever effective, and this was going to happen eventually. You look at a Greek system of education, you put a whole bunch of people in a room, you got a big forum, and you just teach to them, you tell them stuff, and then they just learn it. They take tests, those sort of concepts, but they don't get to practice it. They don't get to do hands-on teaching. There's a lowest common denominator person in there that's going to be missed. You have no child left behind because the people get missed. But should you not move forward because of the lowest common denominator? No. That's why you need special programs. That's why you need smaller classrooms. You need a different system because you can look at more of the Eastern style of apprenticeship, of discipleship, those things where you have more one-on-one teachings, much smaller groups, and you can ask questions. You do hands-on. You follow the person around, they're doing it, then they follow you around while you do it. There's an interaction. You're really learning. You're reasoning with the information that you're learning. You're reasoning with the world around you and how to use it the most effective way. You're dealing with real world stuff that may not feel real, may not be connected in your brain based on just a test, based on having read something and then done multiple choice or an essay test or whatever. Essay tests, I believe, are probably better than a multiple choice sort of test. That all being said, this Greek style, this teaching that most Western civilization does, it doesn't allow us to get into individuals' minds. And this is the same problem with any sort of labeling system, with identity politics, with every one of those things. No one is exactly the same as another person. No one fits in those boxes. So it's comfortable to say, I'm in this tribe, I'm in this group. But it's also important to know that while we're relating to these tribes and groups, we may actually be different. You can follow a lot of conservative people who are not maybe traditionally conservative. Maybe they even listen to different music that you wouldn't think is conservative. That's my point. All types of conservative people are not necessarily very strict on this area. There are conservative people who have no religion, who don't follow religion. There are people who are religious, who are spiritual, but who might consider themselves more liberal, more leftist. So it's really important to understand the diversity of people, not just as a ideological term that we need diversity. We have diversity. We don't, what do you mean we need that? Everyone is so different. There's a difference between saying like, yeah, people are different and we can like accept everyone's difference, then actually saying, okay, that group's separate over there. and they're different. And now this group's very different from them. We're going to put them over there. That's not diversity. That's just separating people. We're already diverse. Like, you don't create diversity exists. It's there. Obviously, these are tangents, but they all circle back into our Gen Alpha crisis that we're having. I know none of us, as an older generation, wants to see the younger generations completely fail. If you do, that's a nihilistic view, and you probably don't belong on this channel. But I don't want to see Gen Alpha fail. I don't want to see Gen Z fail. I don't want to see my generation fail. But my generation has failed Gen Z, has failed our children, has failed Gen Alpha in a major sense. But what I did want to share was some hope. Okay, so we're wrapping up this video. There's hope for Gen Alpha. I'm going to play you like 10 seconds of a video to prove to you that Gen Alpha has just as good of a brain, and actually the capacity to be smarter than the 80s kids, to be smarter than millennials. They didn't have to stop, and it doesn't have to stop here. They can still be the smartest generation, and they should be, and that's what we should be working for. So my nephew, he is about to turn 2 in a week, and I could show you in this video. I'm going to play like 10 seconds of it, and you could see him. We're pointing at the board, and he's reading full words. Of course, there's comprehension issues. His brain is still coming together. So is he fully reading, but not fully in that sense, but he can recognize the patterns of the words. He can recognize the letters of the words, and he can point to a word and know that that word is that. Mathematics is very useful to do that with. So we've been working with him on that. And so basically, we're just doing stuff like we normally would with any child, and he's learning very quickly. He's very intelligent with our systems today. He uses technology. He uses all this stuff. I'll be perfectly honest, my sisters don't agree with my points of view. So it's not about left or right. It's not about who is on whose side. It's about the way that we're teaching them and what we're teaching. This is a parenting issue, and I have proof right here. So enjoy this hope of our future, this 2-year-old who can read words and who is going to succeed in life. And any Gen Alpha can. And they're not cooked. They don't have to be cooked. We need to fix our educational system. I'm going to have a whole video on that. Please let me know, because I don't think public education is right now, but I'm not sure any private education works. I don't know about homeschooling because you have to do it well, and I'm not sure the whole system's. It all seems a mess. So they could be cooked just because we're not prepared to teach our children, but they don't have to be. And that's the hope for our future. I am actually excited about that. So check this out, and I will see you guys soon. Let me know, like, subscribe, comment, or don't do anything. I will see you guys later.
Hi. Okay, what's this one?
Mama.
Mama. What's that one?
Duck.
Dog. What's this one?
Oops.
Oops. What's this one?
Red.
Red.
Sink.
Sink.
Toe.
Toe.
Fast.
Fast. That was a new one.
Sink.
Snake.
Sink. Green.
Green.
Tata.
That's D for Dada. What's this word?
Book.
Bird. What's this one?
Cup.
Jump. What's this one? Do you remember?
X.
Eggs.
Milk.
Let's go.